We're going to get started with Patty. My name is Tiffany Mullen, for those of you who don't know me at Vital Health. And we're excited to have Patty Stark, our nutritionist, health coach, functional medicine woman extraordinaire, who is here to show us some amazing smoothie recipes. I got a sneak peek of some of the things that she's come up with. So we're excited for her to demonstrate how to create the perfect smoothie. And then actually she's gonna make two. And then we're going to have a little time for Q&A at the end. So take it away, Patty.
All right, thanks. So glad you guys could be here tonight. I know it's not easy to carve out a little time in the evening. It's like our catch-up time, our exhausted time where we just want to put our feet up. So celebrate the fact that you're taking care of you tonight. I think that's fabulous. And I'm kind of here to tell you that I'm trying to take any sort of angst out of smoothie making, because it's really not exactly an art form. It can be the kind of thing where you open your refrigerator and your pantry and say, what can I toss in there today? But I will throw out that it's important to think about your personal preferences in terms of taste, but also maybe your personal preferences in terms of what you need nutrient-wise. So here's an example. So most of us need to reduce our inflammation levels. There's always inflammation going on for one reason or another. And so that's one of the things that you can ramp up your anti-inflammatory intake, because a smoothie, you know, most people, if you make the smoothie the way I'm going to kind of guide you, you're going to be taking in like 5 cups of antioxidants, or, you know, if that's a little intense for you, then maybe you want to make a smaller version, so 3 at least. But again, you're going to feel that in your body. I guarantee it. If you haven't already experienced that, where your body is just so happy to get all of these phytonutrients and minerals and all that good stuff. So I'm going to start with, I basically have a 5-step formula, if you will. And the main sort of the centerpiece of that are green vegetables. Specifically, I'm going to focus on greens themselves. I think having greens, either spinach or kale or romaine, one of those greens as at least a cup or 2 in your smoothie is a really important base. And again, that's focusing on the fact that it's one of the leafy greens are one of the most nutrient dense vegetables you can possibly consume. And they just, if you have a nice blender or a NutriBullet or a Vitamix or whatever, and you can really get that broken down nicely, they're very, very easy to digest too. I have a 96-year-old mom, and I'm convinced that she's living because I give her smoothies. You know, she loves them, and because she can't chew vegetables very well, that's a way for her to get those nutrients. Too bad they don't serve them at skilled nursing, but they probably should, instead of those Ensure things that are so nasty, right? Anyway, so I'm going to focus on green veggies. And keep in mind, I only have a smattering of things here because I've already covered my whole countertop with stuff. But I want to mention that when I'm talking about greens, you're not specifically limited to spinach and romaine and kale. You can experiment a little with parsley. It's an excellent detox green. Celery too is a great addition. Also really good for cleaning your body. And cabbage, I know that sounds a little weird, and it will have a stronger flavor, but because of that sulfur content, it's also an excellent detox veggie. This is a true story. I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to throw myself at your mercy and tell you one of my weird quirks. I take a slab of purple cabbage every time I get on a plane. I know, it looks weird, trust me. I chop it up so I'm not sitting there with a half a cabbage in my mouth. But because every time you get on an airplane, you sort of get bombarded by toxins, right? So you don't even think about it, but you're sitting there. There's stuff that we don't even know about, but the stuff you do know about that you can literally smell and taste would be like the diesel fuel while you're sitting in the runway. that kind of thing. So every time you get on a plane, think about how you're going to detox. You might not be that brave to take a slab of cabbage on the plane with you, but maybe a smoothie. Oh no, you can't do that, can you? They take your liquids away. Sorry, bad idea. Anyway, so another one I want to mention real quickly is sprouts. Really nutrient dense. If you have to choose a sprout, I would say go for sunflower sprouts. They're like one of the most nutrient dense sprouts, and they're almost sweet. Pea shoots are another good one. So all of those things are good. So that's my first component, would be greens and also green vegetables. Zucchini, cucumber, and I'll talk a little bit more about those guys down the road as I put them into my smoothies tonight. The second category is going to be fruit, and I'm highlighting berries tonight. The nice thing about berries is that, well, there's a lot of nice things about them, right? But they are very low on the glycemic index, so we don't want to rev up our blood sugar level when we're having a smoothie. So berries are a sure way that that won't happen. And the other fun thing I learned recently about berries, because their skins are so thin, the thinner the skin on something, the stronger the antioxidant effect, because they're sitting out there in a, like a strawberry in a sandy field, right? And they've got essentially no defenses against pests and, little things that are going to annoy them. So their skins, even though they're very thin, they're packed with these high defense mechanisms that when we intake them, we're actually revving up our own defense system. So our own ability for our immune systems to fight off things. So that's kind of a fun little factoid there. Again, thinner the skin, the more you can get out of those fruits. So step one, green vegetables, especially leafy greens. Step two, some kind of a fruit, and the fruit, not just because of the antioxidants, but to make the smoothie more palatable. Bananas are fine. I know that's kind of a traditional one where, people want a sweet smoothie. They'll toss together a banana and strawberries and yogurt and call it a day. And I'm not going to take you down that path, because I just feel like there's so many ways you can get more of a nutritional punch without just making it 100% sweet. But there's nothing wrong with trying to sweeten it a little bit to make it more palatable. Because if you don't like it, you're not going to eat it. You're not going to enjoy it. And I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way for a minute so I can bring in my next category, which is, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot something. I'm going to back up to fruits. I'm also including in the fruit section starchy vegetables that are sweet. So I have some beets here for my intermediate smoothie people. And that would also include like a sweet potato. I know that sounds crazy, like a sweet potato in a smoothie, but it'll sweeten everything. It has so many great nutrients in it. And so I sort of lump that in with the fruit, even though technically it's not a fruit. And okay, so step three, here's my step three section here. Not orchids, don't eat the orchid, but the orchid was sitting on the tray. So I thought, I'm gonna leave it there, it's kind of cute. Step three, proteins, fats, and fiber. I kind of lump those guys together because there's a lot of crossover there, okay? So protein, probably, I'm guessing some of you are used to or familiar with protein powders. A lot of stuff out there, right? And it's like, how do you navigate that? It's a little crazy. I would strongly recommend one of two types, depending on your own personal preference. The first would be a vegan protein powder. And I say that because a lot of people have sensitivities to the whey in some of the other protein powders where that would be one of the main ingredients. And so if that is an issue for you, I would steer you toward the vegan versions. And this particular one, and I'm not focusing on any brands here tonight. This is a pea protein, an organic pea protein. And I have also recently heard that it's a bonus to get them, to get protein powders that are fermented or sprouted. That was a new one for me fairly recently. So maybe consider that as an add-on, as a bonus. Another option for those of you who are comfortable with animal products, would be collagen peptides. Again, these two things are going to give you a really nice protein punch. And when I lumped those three things together, it was for a reason: proteins, fats, and fiber. That's the part of the smoothie that's going to leave you feeling very satiated, nice and full. That's the thing that's going to leave you feeling full on your plate too, right? So anytime you just decide, what are we going to have for dinner tonight, or what am I going to have for breakfast? If it's not a smoothie, then think about those three things too: protein, fats, and fiber. And of course, healthy proteins, healthy fats. And I think, gosh, isn't all fiber healthy? I don't, just a thought. All right, so what else goes into the protein, fat, and fiber category? Lots of seeds, right? So, and seeds kind of cover multiple bases. So I have some sunflower seeds here. I have walnuts, again, fats and protein there. I have pumpkin seeds. These are kind of dark, right? I'm used to seeing pumpkin seeds. I'm used to seeing them a little lighter than this, but these were sprouted. So I thought, oh, and they're very tasty. And chia seeds. I'm gonna tell you a little story about this little container here. You can tell it's a little bit of a homemade number. I've got the big holes, and I sprinkle these on salads, like, just like it's I don't know, like it's an herb. And it's just such a great way to get quick extra fiber in your lunch or dinner, whenever you're having something that needs a little sprinkle of something. Very yummy that way. Another option in this category, and this hasn't even been opened, as you can tell, but would be hemp seeds. And I did a little digging around because I was a little disappointed in the fiber content of these. They're great in terms of protein. They're a complete protein, which is very rare with a seed. Usually to get a complete protein, you need an animal product. Hemp is one of those very rare exceptions. So it's a great protein option. It has a little bit of fiber. It has lots and lots of nutrients. I'm just looking at the back label. It's got magnesium, potassium, iron, calcium. So lots of good stuff in there. But in order to get the fiber, you have to get the whole seed. This is the whole seed. Does that make sense? So the difference, though, is this tastes yummy. The whole seed might be a little more challenging. It has a little bit of bitterness to it. So again, it's one of those things where you say to yourself, do I want to get something that I'm maybe not going to like, and therefore I won't use it, or get something that's more palatable, and maybe start here and then try out the whole seeds for yourself and see if that's something you can tolerate, because the whole seed does have a lot more fiber in it. It's just an option. Let's see, where else? So we talked about the green veggies, we talked about the fruits, talked about proteins, fats, and fiber. So the fourth step is optional. And sometimes I use the expression, or I hear this expression, I don't use it that often. You hear the expression superfoods, right? And I hesitate to use that expression because it seems like there's a superfood of the month, right? Everybody's telling you pomegranates are, what you need to eat now, or goji berries or whatever it is. But I think that there are a lot of options that could fit under the category of optional extra micronutrients to add. And over time, you might not think that's a whole lot, because I'm only recommending like a teaspoon of these things in your smoothie, but over time, they all have amazing medicinal effects. So some of you have maybe heard, again, with the homemade label, because I buy stuff in bulk. So I've got my little homemade turmeric label. You probably heard the anti-inflammatory aspect of turmeric. And if you're using it in food, make sure you throw a little cayenne pepper in there so that it's more easily absorbed. But in my smoothie, you could put cayenne pepper in your smoothie. I'm not going down that road tonight. But this is kind of considered a little add-on that could make your smoothie even pack a better punch for you. Cinnamon, believe it or not, has medicinal properties. Cacao, so the chocolate flavored superfood, not sweet, but it does have a chocolate taste. In a smoothie that has fruit in it, you will get a little bit of that hint of chocolate, even though I'm only recommending a teaspoon. But again, lots of potassium, magnesium, all kinds of good stuff in here. And then I also have matcha. You can put a little teaspoon of matcha right in there. I'm not going to tonight because I'm actually going to consume one of my smoothies tonight, and I can't tolerate even that little bit of caffeine at night. So, but if you're having a morning smoothie, I highly recommend that. I also would like to suggest, and this is my last step, would be whatever you're going to use to thin your smoothie out, depending on the preferred texture. Sometimes you could make a cup of green tea and use that as your liquid. And I made, again, didn't make green tea because I didn't want caffeine, but I just made an echinacea tea to put as an additional liquid to thin out our smoothie tonight. Additional other options for liquids. Coconut milk is great. Lots of good healthy fats in there. It's just great brain food too. Vegetable juice, or some other kind of nut or seed milk that you personally would prefer, like almond milk or even rice milk if you prefer. I would say nut or seed over rice, because the rice doesn't necessarily pack as many nutrients as the nut or the seed milk. And then of course ice, if you like your smoothie, with a little bit more of a chill to it. So I think I'm gonna dive in if everybody's ready. And I did not set up, I have notes here, which is similar to what you guys are going to get with just sort of the framework, right? I did not make a recipe tonight. All I'm going to do is show you how easy it is to sort of wing it. The only exception I'm going to make to that rule is that I am going to make sort of a beginner smoothie first. And by beginner smoothie, I mean one that's gentle on the palate, that isn't maybe as bitter as a darker green leaf would be. So I'm going to start with a romaine smoothie, and I'm going to bring my blender out here. There's a limit to how much you guys can see, so I have to keep kind of shuffling stuff. And of course, the cords are like 6 inches long, so it's got to be right near the edge. All right, thank you for your patience. All right, we're going to start with the romaine. And again, in this category, green vegetables, always, 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 one of them should be leafy green. And so I recommend 1 to 2 cups of green vegetables. So for sure, one of those cups is going to be greens. I'm going to go ahead, and this is probably 1.5 cups. I'm going to have to go ahead and use the whole thing. And then I think I'm going to talk a little bit. I told you I would talk a little bit about other green vegetables. By the way, I'm using that term vegetable pretty loosely. Technically, a cucumber is a fruit. Here I am. Oh, I thought I had a cucumber on here. Nope, that's a banana. And I was like, okay, I had dig deeply into my botanical knowledge base, and I remembered hearing that, and somebody can verify this for me, fruits come from flowers, right? So if you can picture a garden with all the lovely blossoms before things actually start popping out, I can picture a cucumber, a yellow cucumber flower, same thing, zucchini, right? So those are actually fruits, but we call them vegetables. And I think it's probably because they aren't as sweet as the fruits that we come to know and love. So I've officially cut this in half, which means you got to consume it quickly. It's got so much fabulous vitamin C in it. So this would not be a smoothie that you would stick in the fridge and have the next morning, because you're going to lose the benefits of the vitamin C. So just keep that in mind. Zucchini, cucumber, both have a lot of vitamin C, but they're gonna lose their value over time. So, okay, so I think we're covered on the green veggies. We've got, again, simple, not going real bitter here, just romaine and cucumber. Now we're going to scoot over to the fruit category, and let's see. How about let's go blueberries, because then I don't have to take the tops off like the strawberries. So I've just got about 3/4 cup of blueberries there. And then first category, greens, right? Green veggies, green lettuce or some kind of leafy green, and then a fruit, half a cup to a cup of fruit. Now I'm looking at proteins, fats, and fiber. So, and I'm going to say 1 to 2 tablespoons of something in that category. If you're going protein powder, that's 1 of the 2 tablespoons, right? I would not recommend 2 tablespoons of protein powder. That's just too much for one smoothie. So I'm going to use my collagen peptides. I don't think I've consumed enough protein today, and this is going to be my dinner. And then now I need something that's under that little category, subcategory, fats and fiber. I think I'm going to go with the chia seeds. And again, this one has a little bit of protein, not a lot of fat, but some good fiber. So let's shake that in there. Notice how I'm measuring, not so much. And even though I said 1 to 2 tablespoons, I don't have a lot of fat in there. Oh, I know, that's going to come later. I'm going to do my coconut milk will have my fat, so I'll cover that base. Even though that's under liquid, it's a fat as well. Okay, now I'm thinking about my nutrient boost. So here's my little nutrient boost collection here. What the heck? Shake a little cinnamon there, see what happens. And maybe, I think cinnamon and chocolate are nice together, don't you guys? All right, I think I'm gonna put a teaspoon of cacao in there. I was in California not too long ago, and I went to a cacao ceremony, right? So only in California would you go to a cacao ceremony, or Guatemala, I don't know. Anyway, it was kind of cool though. It was very good. It's very tasty. And there were sound bowls, and that was part of it too. I don't know, kind of hippie woo-woo, but it was fun. Okay, now I just have to figure out my liquids. All right. So I'm gonna do coconut milk. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about, again, I mentioned that coconut milk is great brain food. And it can, you can make some amazing desserts with coconut milk that sort of are nice little cheats. That'll be another class. We'll make some coconut milk pudding. But I'm not shaking this up because I don't want the heaviness in the evening. So I'm deliberately, when you open up coconut milk, those of you who don't know, I don't know if you can see this. There's a lot of, almost like the cream that is on the top, right? Just like in old time, milk that got delivered back in my grandma's time, where the cream rose to the top. Same thing happens with coconut milk. So I don't want all that heaviness. I'm going to get plenty of fat, trust me, and nutrients. So for this purpose, I'm just going to hold that lid on there and just get some of the more coconut milk, less coconut cream. And again, notice how I'm measuring. I'm not really too worried about it. And then to make sure that there's enough liquid in there so it can do its job, I'm going to add that echinacea tea. And I'm going to see how it does, and I can add more later. All right, let's give this a whirl. Okay, now I want to talk about color of smoothies, right? When I first started making them, and I knew I was supposed to get my greens in, but I didn't really understand. I wasn't really thinking like an artist in my palette, right? And so, like yellow and blue make green or whatever. So blueberries, right? Blueberries with green makes kind of sludge, right? It's a little bit, I don't know if you can tell that color. And maybe in the glass you'll be able to see, but it's not necessarily very appetizing. And if that bothers you, it used to bother me, it doesn't anymore. But at the beginning, I would have my smoothie in a glass like this, so I didn't have to look at that color. And again, I mean, I respect that because it took me a while to talk myself out of that little category. I'm visually, when I eat a meal, I think presentation adds a lot to it. So again, I'm going to show you the real color maybe. Yeah, so this is not terribly appetizing, but the proof is in the pudding, right? I don't know if you guys, if that's an okay texture for you, it's perfect for me, but some people might want it a little thinner. I'm going to show you this. Again, I'm not advertising. Got this great little tool. Isn't that the best? You see that thing? It's a tiny little, especially for the blender spatula. So I don't waste anything. So I get that in there, move around the blades and everything. And part of why I'm going to be extra precise is in terms of getting a lot out is that I'm going to use this blender again without cleaning it to save time for smoothie number 2. Okay. Now, if I really wanted to do like a beginner smoothie, I would have made sure the color was pretty. So one way you could do that, if you want to stick with the green, but you don't really want to go brown, would be to use kiwi or banana as your sweetener fruit, because those don't really, they're not going to mess with the color as long as you're okay with green. So I'm going to give it a try. It's really good. You got to trust me. That I can taste that little bit of cacao in there. It's kind of fun. And the cinnamon, wow, that's my first cinnamon smoothie. And I didn't put that much in there, but I can taste it. Yummy. I'm going to stick this in the fridge because I want to minimize the nutrients I lose. So hang on. All right, we're going to move up the scale a little and do an intermediate smoothie now. And I say intermediate because the greens, spinach is a little more bitter than romaine. And again, I'm not measuring, but I'm guessing that's about 1.5 cups. Okay. And then I'm going to use the other half of my cucumber because I don't want that to be wasted. I'm not a fan of that little tail on there, so I don't think it can handle that big thing. We'll see. We'll find out. And let's see. So that was category 1. And then category 2, again, intermediate. So I'm getting kind of sassy here. We're going to do beets for our sweetener. I'm hoping that the beets will dominate and it'll be a pretty color. Not sure what's going to happen. For my step 3, protein, fats, and fiber, I'm going to use some sunflower seeds. And let's see, 1 to 2 tablespoons. This time I am going to measure because I think if I shake that in, I'm going to get way too much. By the way, you can also use for your protein, I think I mentioned this, like a nut butter as well. That's always kind of nice. And some people have sensitivities to nuts, so certainly there are lots of other options for people who might have those issues. Let's see, let's do a little hint in here. Really go nice. This is, again, even though it wasn't under the protein category, it also has protein in there. And then I think, let's see. Oh, I didn't talk about ginger. Ginger's a great add-on, a nutrient boost, very good for digestion. So I'm going to add, and if the ginger skin is not wrinkly, you don't have to peel it. So that's like a thumb of ginger. And then I'm going to use the rest of my tea here. And not the bags, thank you very much. And this is just water. Just going to put in a little water because I don't want this to be coconutty. Didn't talk about avocados. I'm so sorry. It's just sitting here waiting to be part of the party. This is talk about a little nutrient package. Avocados just kind of have it all, right? So you got your healthy fat. It's going to leave you feeling satiated. It's got all kinds of other great phytonutrients too. You almost could get away with a half of one, but again, you don't want that the other half to lose its nutritional value. So depending on who you're making a smoothie for, chuck the whole thing in there and share your smoothie. That's probably the best bet. Okay. I'm just looking at my optional boosts and I only put one in there. Let's see, I only use ginger. How about, don't want the tea, too late. Oh, let's try a little turmeric. Why not? Okay, this is going to be a wild one. Again, this is for intermediate people. Let's see. I hope I have enough liquid in there. But again, I'm just trying to emphasize how you don't have to have a recipe. You can just kind of wing it. Okay, I'm stopping it early. You see the red from the beets? Isn't it pretty? I'm going to taste it because if it's not, if the beets didn't do it for me sweet wise, I'm going to add some strawberries. So this is my little preemptive check here. Let's see if it's sweet enough. Oh, it's so pretty though. That color is beautiful. Not sweet enough. All right. Ooh, I love the ginger in there though. Ooh, that was a nice little zing. Isn't that funny? My beginner one that looked like sludge is actually less visually appetizing than the intermediate one. And again, I wasn't sure. I was kind of thinking those beets might dominate. All right, maybe one more. Okay, let's take a look at this one. That's gorgeous, isn't it? Let me turn one more light on so you guys can see that color. Isn't that pretty? It's almost like like a rose. Pretty. Okay, okay, here's the test, the true test, right? Yes, the strawberries knocked it up a notch in terms of palatability. I would love to open it up to questions now. If anyone has any specific questions for me, and if I can't answer them, I might throw it back to Tiffany or Molly, but I'd love to answer or entertain any questions you guys might have about smoothie making or anything I talked about so far.
Patty, I'll be over in 10 minutes. Everyone, if you have questions, go ahead and use your chat at the very bottom. Sorry, that's not the right thing. Don't do that. Use your reactions and use your raise hand button. I'm going to do the first one so you can see what it looks like. And I actually have a question for you, Patty. Pardon the noise in my house. People are coming and going. Where do you get sprouted stuff? Like where do you get sprouted pumpkin seeds? And I think you talked about one other ingredient that's sprouted. I've never seen that before.
Like sunflower sprouts. I think it's actually easier to find things like green sprouts at like a regular produce department. The well, and I don't know how many of our clients are in the Milwaukee area, but I got the sprouted pumpkin seeds from Outpost, which is our cooperative here in Milwaukee. But yeah, and honestly, that could be another class too, is teaching people how to make their own sprouts, because it's not that hard. For those of you with kids at home, it's a fun little summer project too. And as long as they're involved, they're more likely to eat them. So, great question.
Patty, hi, I'm Nan. Thank you so much. This demonstration is yummy, actually. I'm anxious to get going. I had two questions.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was, I know you're not accurately like measuring things out, but when you talk about like 1 to 2 cups of like spinach or romaine, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
is that packed down?
Yes.
Or,
mm-hmm.
okay.
Which
So
is why I just feel like a handful is somewhere between a cup and a half. Because so this is a cup, right?
Right.
If I were, and let me just do a little demo here. If I were to take this handful, let's just see if this works, and try to jam it in there.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, a handful is about a cup. Look at that. If I'm jamming it in, it is about a cup. I lost a couple leaves, but yeah. So there's a lot of air in there when you grab it with your hand, but yeah. So
Okay,
let's think.
great.
Yeah, great question.
Thank you. And then my other question, I found a product. I found that Haas actually has a frozen avocado cubed.
Mm-hmm.
And is there less nutrition, or is there a difference in nutrition when it's frozen versus fresh?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've done a little research on that, because I do have clients that love to have their smoothie ingredients kind of grab and go right from the freezer. And some even put their ingredients into like a Ziploc bag or a glass container with the idea that if I can make it easy, I'll do it. And so the sad news is it does reduce the nutritional value, but the reality is there are still nutrients there. And I would weigh it if it's a matter of, if I have to cut this open myself, I'm just not going to do it. Or avocado makes my smoothie taste amazing and I'm going to use frozen, then I'd say go for the frozen, because it's all about consuming it, right, and making it palatable. Same thing with frozen berries. I think you're going to lose a little more with the avocado, and I can't remember exactly why, but I would venture to guess that you're actually removing the skin, whereas if you get frozen berries, the skin is still on, so that's protecting some of the nutrients too. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's what you wanted to hear, though.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, Stacy, you're up. Oh, you're on mute.
Got it. What did you want to ask?
What are some options for adding to help with hunger? Because oftentimes after
Yeah.
we make a smoothie,
Yeah.
we also want to eat a meal.
Yeah.
Take an hour or two.
Yeah, for sure. Every time.
So you're saying, why don't you ask me that question again? I'm not sure if you're asking, what if we're going to have a meal? Do I really want a smoothie first, or how do you incorporate it in the meal?
I think what he's asking is that, like, a lot of times he'll make smoothies. He's really big on making smoothies. He loves them more than I do. But the problem that I have with smoothies is that even if they're good, I'm always hungry still.
There we go. There we go. And then that's that step 3 that's so important. That protein and the fats and the fiber. And you may want to even up the amount that I recommend to a little bit more. And I would say the key, well, I'm not even going to single one out because they're all important. Fiber is usually that thing that makes us pretty quickly feel full, right? Whereas the proteins and the fats are the things that are going to hang with you and give you that slow release of energy. Unlike the carbs, as wonderful as these are and as nutrient rich as they are, if you just had a strawberry banana smoothie, you're going to be hungry for sure in an hour, if not sooner. But yeah, the fats, the fiber, and the protein are your secret weapons for that.
Okay, yeah, that's all. Okay,
Thank you.
cool, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Caitlin, you're up next.
Hi, Patty. Thank you so much for all of your tips. I'm wondering about when you mentioned like saving some for leftover for later that day or the next day. And I may have just not quite caught what you said. And sometimes it's okay to do it with certain ingredients. And for some, if you use certain ingredients, it's not okay. I'm just thinking, you know, sometimes it takes a while to make a great smoothie with so many ingredients, and I don't have a ton of time in the morning, or sometimes I accidentally make too much.
Sure.
So how can I tell if it's okay to save or if it's gonna like not be as good or something?
I would say as long as you're going to consume it within 24 hours, you're okay. Yes, you're going to lose some. You're going to want to get it in the refrigerator as quickly as possible. I specifically pointed out foods that have vitamin C, like even an orange. You know, you slice open an orange, you want to consume that within 15 minutes or so, because literally just by cutting it open, the nutrients start to disintegrate. So mainly that vitamin C was the one I was concerned about. But I would say in general, and again, I would almost want to put this in a jar that's smaller, that doesn't have even that pocket of air in there. Speaking of, I'm gonna stick this in the fridge right away because I don't want it to lose its beautiful nutrients on me. But that's a great question, because I was kind of gliding over that and I didn't go into any depth. I think that's just generally true with smoothies, that you are going to lose some of the nutrients. I have a client with MS, and she has a limited amount of energy that she can devote to that task, right? She knows it's important for her every day to try to get that smoothie in. So she'll make a bigger one and have half one day and half the next day. And you know what? You gotta weigh that out with your current life and what works for you as a busy person. So great question though.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sorry to be so rude.
All right, Gail, you're up next.
Yeah, I think I know the answer to this, but I wanted to be sure, since you didn't include avocado when you went through the 5 steps. Is that a protein, fat, and fiber?
You know, it sort of wants to be in a few categories. That's a great question.
Okay.
I'm putting it, even though it's a fruit, I'm putting it in the green vegetable category.
Really?
Mm-hmm. But it has the bonus of also having that really, really healthy fat in it. So then when you get down to that protein, fiber, and fat category, you can probably say to yourself, well, I don't really have to add an additional fat. Then I've got my fat covered, right? So I probably, although I've had smoothies with an avocado and coconut milk, and yes, they're going to stick with you for a long time. But it's really up to you what makes sense to you. But how can you guys give me a little wave if you've had an avocado in a smoothie before? They just make it this magical texture, almost like a shake. So strongly recommend. I wouldn't say they make them sweet, but they really make them nice and smooth. Yeah.
Any excuse to eat an avocado.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it for questions. Does anyone else have any more? All right. Well, I think we're
Good.
done.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
so
everybody
much,
for
everybody.
coming tonight. And so Patty and Molly have put together some really great handouts with recipes and some of the tips and tricks for Patty's kind of 5-ingredient or 5-step approach that she uses to build a smoothie. So if you would like that emailed to you, go in the chat area and just put your first and last name. And then we can go ahead and email that out to you. It's really a very helpful thing to have. I think I'm going to actually get mine laminated and keep it in my kitchen. That's what I'm thinking. Because it really is a nice guide, and it's, you know, visually appealing, and it's got sort of a lot of the structure, how to build a smoothie. And I think what Patty did such a great job of doing is emphasizing the fact that there is no one way to do this. There's no rhyme or reason. In my house, we basically just grab things and throw them in the blender and see what happens. So yeah, you can definitely play around with a lot of different ingredients, try things, get adventurous. So Patty's given us sort of a great launching pad for getting into the idea of making smoothies. And Patty, you did such an amazing job of making it simple, making it educational, giving us some information about, you know, some of the phytonutrients and some of the, nutritional value of the things that you're using in your smoothies. And so thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight and getting us all started on spring and summer, where we're going to be doing a lot more drinking breakfast and dinner.
Tonight for sure.
Tonight for sure, right. All right, unless there's any other questions, we will adjourn for this evening. Please make sure you put your name, first and last name. We have your emails, first and last name in the chat. We'll go ahead and email out those guides for you, and you can get started on your smoothies.
Thanks, everybody.
Great.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye.
Enjoy the beautiful
You too.
weather.